everyone, and welcome to episode 194 of the Down South Photo Show with me, Brendan Waits, here in Ocean Grove, Victoria, Australia, and the guy on your other screen or in your other ear if you're listening to the podcast. It's Cam Blake in Hobart Town, Tasmania, Australia. Hello, Cameron.
Hello, Mr. Waits. How are you? It is 194. I just double checked it. I thought, wasn't that last week? No, I should trust you that you don't get it wrong. Yeah, well, maybe. I'm good. How are you going?
Yeah, really well. Keeping busy as. I was just telling you off air, getting things prepped because next 3 weeks I'm not really going to be around in Ocean Grove, so got a fair bit to take care of at Ocean Grove Camera and Photo, which is, by the way, for those of you who don't know, I run a camera shop / photo printing business here in Ocean Grove, and keeps me nice and busy. I do actually, and it keeps me nice and busy, and got to get things together. Got to sort of tidy up loose ends before you and I get together next week on the Great Ocean Road.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Have you told the rest of the councillors that you're leaving Ocean Grove for 3 weeks? The mayor is out of town and they have to look after themselves.
Is it a vice mayor? What do they have? What's a mayor in waiting?
Vice chancellor? No.
Yeah, something like that. They can step in. Yeah.
All right.
Sure. Well, I'll have to surely they'll get the memo eventually. And yourself, Mel, mate, traveling well?
Traveling well. Yeah, same. Just sort of busy. Just having a few days off, which I've had a couple of weeks off now. So kids are on school holidays, so I've been hanging out with them a bit, doing a bit of work down here in the office, just on the side. Been playing a lot of Fortnite with Jamison and I. We've been getting online, and the Blake brothers are online trying to beat 15-year-olds who have been playing it since they're in the womb. Things have changed with online gaming. I used to think I was pretty good at that, but I'm okay. But geez, these kids coming up the ranks, they just got reflexes like a cat. So
yes. I have a son who is a gamer as well, and he gets here on very PC, and he was showing me some stuff the other day. I was like, this whole generation just passed me by.
Well, I got yelled at tonight. We were not yelled at. Jamison's like, why did you do that? I'm like, I don't know how to play this game. You're meant to tell me these things. Oh, but you do this. You press Y, you jump here. Oh, okay, whatever, mate. But I'm a little bit excited actually this week because we're recording this on Tuesday night, and we have one of the bigger snow events coming across our state. Maybe Wednesday and Thursday. It looks like Thursday is going to be the day it really ramps up. So of course I'll be going out somewhere and trying to get some nice snow shots and things like that. So thinking of maybe even going out tomorrow and going somewhere and staying overnight at a motel or a little cabin thing up in the snow somewhere and be in there for the whole day. We'll see how we go, but looking forward to that. And then on Sunday we kick off another Great Ocean Road trip.
That's gonna be awesome. I've been seeing reports about this snow event that's going to happen across Tassie, so that's very exciting stuff. It just needs to organize itself so I'm not so busy and I can jump on a plane and join you for that. That would be awesome.
It is good fun. Like, it sounds like we don't really plan anything. We just grab it and get in the car, make sure we're safe. We've got snow chains, we've got things we all need, all that kind of stuff. And we obviously abide by the authorities' road closures, which generally happen down here. But it is cool. We just get out, we drive up, we just sort of say, let's go up to Lake Sinclair, or how about we head up to the Central Highlands and whatever, and we just see what happens. Like, there's so many great spots up and about that, you don't have to, when it's all covered in snow, you can just drive along normal roads and get some great shots. So Jamie and Chelsea are the two co-pilots that are looking to come along, and we'll keep you updated. Maybe the next episode I'll show some photos that we get from said snow event, but we'll see. It's meant to be almost snow down to sea level across southwest and southern Tasmania. So we'll see if that eventuates. We'll see what happens.
I noticed the ski fields in southern New South Wales and the high country Victoria, ain't no snow on them. So
no,
need some.
Yeah, well, I'm going up there after my Cradle Mountain workshop next month. I'm taking a quick 5-day detour up to the Alpine region of Victoria to scout out. I'd like to maybe do a winter workshop up there in the next couple of years. I know the place very well, but just to go up there and just nail down some locations and just check accommodation options and drive times and all those kind of things, and just check how it all works. I haven't been in the snow resorts up there for quite a while. So, I saw Jeff Freestone was running a workshop up there the other day. I think he got lucky when they got that last little dump.
Yeah,
but it melts off very quick. And it was like 12 degrees on Mount Hotham today or something. It's just, that's nuts. Something's wrong.
12 degrees here in Ocean Grove.
Yeah, right.
Crazy stuff.
Well, no snow though.
No. Would you like to see a photo of the week?
Yeah, I'd like to see what you did this week. What did you get up to?
So this is my old muse, the jetty at Point Lonsdale, just for something different. This was actually last week with David Skinner, another one with David Skinner that I did.
Oh, yes.
We had our one-day ballerine photo tour, which was a lot of fun. And we sort of, it was one of those ones where the light, it was flat, it was overcast, but there was really good waves coming in. So it actually sort of delayed the time we needed to put on ND filters or anything like that. We had, you can see the lights are still on the jetty there. So this is probably only about a half a second exposure here as that wave sort of broke through the gap, and it was cool. It was great because when you get waves and rocks like this, you can line up your shot. You'll see it happen. You'll see a wave break, and then you'll line it up, and you know that within the next 90 seconds another wave's going to come through there because that's how they work. So it's really good like that. You can sort of, you get a preview, if you like, of your photo before you actually take it. And I noticed as the water came through that gap in the rocks, it was sort of fanning out like that, and it gave it that effect. So it's really cool. I enjoyed that. This is on the Nikon Z5 Mark II with the Tamron 16 to 30 f2.8 with a circular polarizer and no ND at that point.
Nice. And you've got what is it, Statler and Wardorf sitting up on the perch there, just checking your photography skills out.
Yeah, the seagulls there are great. That you get seagulls there, and then you get crested terns. I'll tell you what was cool was out in the end, a couple of fishermen walked past us really right on daybreak, like we could barely sort of see them, and they went out the end there. And I can tell you, it wasn't warm, but gee, they were intrepid. They were out there. There was only two of them out there, but each of them had like 2 or 3 fishing rods, and they were into it. They were catching all kinds of stuff. It was brilliant. We actually sort of used that as a bit of as part of the photo tour. We used it sort of like photojournalism style, where I said to David, I want you to think like a photojournalist out here and tell the story of these guys fishing. And he did really well. He actually captured quite a cool series of photos out there. So a lot of fun doing that sort of stuff.
It's one thing I can never get my head around is fishing. I just find it, I don't know, I just find it so boring. I guess if you had to feed yourself, you'd do it. But as a sport, I don't know. I just never got into it. But I guess people could say that about golf, cricket, and everything else I like to do. So, it's good though. Sometimes when you're at those sort of locations, there's other things going on, especially if the light's not working for you. You know, trying to tell a story around that location. If there's fishermen or people, something going on, or something happening in the region that you can sort of tell a story of, it's pretty cool. So.
Yeah, like when we head down the Great Ocean Road next week, that the little harbour area of Apollo Bay is perfect for that, because you've got it's still an active sort of commercial fishing operation through there. So quite often when we're there shooting the sunrise, the trawlers will be coming in, and you can get people unloading fish off boats and that sort of stuff. You got all those old sort of lobster pots there and all that, and it's a good sort of pro tip, I guess. If you're ever struggling, you've got your subject, but you're not sure how to photograph it, start thinking like a storyteller and start thinking like a photojournalist, and that really frees up your brain, I reckon. Yeah,
indeed. That is a good little spot, that Apollo Bay. Like I remember last year we had all the cray pots, and we had a cracking sunrise there. It was like explosive sort of sunrise, but it sort of lit up all the cray pots and all the beautiful boats. Remember the lights on all the cray boats had all the globes in them, and we had the sun coming through there. That was really cool. So I actually really enjoyed that spot. I'm looking forward to getting down there again. So
well, hopefully that boat's there, because it's not there every time. So we shall see.
It will be for us.
Well, I'll make a call. Photo of the week for Cameron Blake.
Yeah, photo for me. This is just the other day on when I do my 2-day masterclass little course down here. Day 1 we head out, day 2 we come back here and do some editing and printing. But this was towards the end of day 1. We'd been into Mount Field, got some beautiful waterfall and forest shots, and then we headed out to Lake Pedder. And as we were driving out, it was pretty heavy skies, and I was like, maybe we're going to just get a bit of a flop here. I don't know, but come around this corner and bang, all these rays came out over the lake, and I quick pulled over. Just happened to be the perfect pullover spot to an old jetty, so I could just drive straight down to the water. Everyone got out of the car, bang, bang, bang. And as this happened, it happened a few times. So a little gap of clouds would let some more sun rays in, and then it close up, and then another one would come through. So beautiful spot. This may be one of the spots we head out in the next few days. So picture this place covered under snow with all the mountains and things like that. But yeah, it was a good day actually. We got back this time of year, as we're discussing offline as well. Sunset's only 5 o'clock. It's pretty gnarly when you're getting home, and you've almost got time for dinner still. So this is about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive from Hobart. We still got home about 7 o'clock, which was reasonable. But yeah, one of those moments out there where you just, there's only 4 of us there, and we're the only 4 people that saw it. And yeah, I mooded up the sky a bit more, sort of made it a bit darker to sort of really just sort of hone your eye onto those light rays below. But it was beautiful. One of those moments that you sort of get a bit excited and get the camera out and snap away.
Epic. I love it. I love it when that happens. When it's sort of unintentional. You don't really, you wouldn't have pre-planned it. That's exactly where you'd be taking photos, but then it happens. You see it. The thing that can be really frustrating is when you do see it and there ain't nowhere to pull over, and it'd be quite dangerous if you did. So you got to try and avoid that. And yeah, like I think I've said this before, some of the greatest photos I've never taken.
Yeah, that's some of the best photos I've ever taken are out the back window, the rear view mirror of the car as you're driving away from somewhere. But yeah, this is on a bit of a dirt road, so you generally have the place. It's ridiculous how good this spot is, and how many people don't go there. I still think it's one of the best kept secrets of Tassie, is that southwest corner where you can drive in. Yes, it's a bit of a hike to get out there from Hobart, but I don't think I've ever been out, and I've said this before on the show, I'm pretty sure. I don't think I've ever been out there and not been able to get something with my camera that I'm really happy with. It's got lots of sort of Scotland vibes and southern island of New Zealand vibes, and obviously southwest of Tassie vibes. So, sign up for a masterclass and I'll take you out there.
Do you think it's because Tassie's so loaded with amazing places that quite often you see it, that places slip through the net? And a place like that is not marketed by Tourism Tasmania at all. Like, you get obviously your big ones, Cradle, Freycinet, around Hobart, that sort of stuff, and places like this, and East Coast, Binalong Bay, all those places. But places like this get overlooked, but they're absolutely stunning.
Yeah, again, Tassie's one of those places that just packs a massive punch for the size of it.
It does.
We're very lucky, obviously, down here. And yeah, this is one of those corners where there's one road out there only. There is accommodation out the end. There's a little hotel out there, but it's not open all the time. There's the big Gordon Dam out there, which is quite interesting for hydro buffs out there. But yeah, it's not on everyone's list to go down to the southwest of Tassie. A lot of hiking down here. A lot of people hike down here, but people sightseeing for the day generally don't get out there. So again, it's rare that you get there and you see another car on this road. So good spot, beautiful moment. I'll give a shout out to the guys on the masterclass later on when we do our shout outs. But we had a good time. It was good. We got some photos, and then we came back here and they got some lovely prints, and everyone walked away pretty happy.
That's what we like to hear. Love it. Now, thanks everyone for liking, sharing, and following the show and our pages, both our website, dsps.com.au, and our Facebook page. And speaking of, when this goes out, you have 1 week left to enter the current photo competition that we're running through our Facebook page, which was it Paint Your Town Winter?
Paint Your Town Winter, which is pretty handy because you might get a chance, well, depending where you live, but you might get a chance, one more chance this week to paint your town with winter. So we've got some great entries. This is going to be, it's funny, the other day, Jamie looked at the entries and he went, oh, I like that one. That's the winner for me. And that's the exact one I've got my eye on at the moment. That's winning for me as well. So that was cool.
As well.
Yeah, but we've got some really cool, foggy, moody, you got some mountain race, like similar to that one, mountain rays. You've got people walking on beaches, foggy boats on rivers. There is some cool stuff in there. Dew on cobwebs. Yeah, we've got some talented people, I tell you.
Right. Well, I'm going to have to cast an eye across that and see what we can check out.
We've got about 35 entries at the moment.
Yeah. You can jump on our Facebook page, folks, and have a look at those entries. We don't keep them hidden. You can have a look. All you have to do is go to the pinned post at the top that's got this month's photo comp listed there, and you can scroll down below in the comments and see all the photos that have been entered. The way we do it is we pick our sort of favorite 5 or so images each, and if one of them happens to cross over and we've both chosen it, generally we end up picking that as the winner. We put that up first, and then the following month we'll put up basically for the people's choice for what you guys think should have won it. So it's good fun. It's a good way. We do a different theme every couple of months, so keep an eye out for the next one that's coming up. But for now, Paint Your Town Winter, head to Facebook, look us up, and look for the pin post.
Hey, we're up to 1.33 thousand subscribers.
Thank you, everyone, for liking, subscribing, and following along.
Remember when we used to care about that a little bit?
We haven't for a while.
We haven't cared for it.
I think we got past 1,000 and went, all right, that'll do. That's enough. That's enough. Nice little audience to keep us amused.
Hey, have you done your BFOP interview yet with the the Camera Life guys?
I am booked in for Friday.
Oh, good. I did mine the other day, and they're starting to roll some of those interviews out. But Greg and Justin would like to do another joint show at some stage soon. So maybe one of our next shows will be a joint one, maybe a live one like they do. Yep. We'll grab some snacks and supplies because they generally go for about 3.5 weeks, and we'll see. We'll see how we go. But BFOP's coming up as well. That's not far off. Under 100 days now. So
it's crazy how fast that's coming around. It's just it's fast. It's just crazy how fast the year goes. Like with July's shot to bits, we're heading to August. It's we're now doing stuff that you and I planned 18 months ago. It feels like yesterday when we planned it. So it's crazy.
How do we slow it down? Is there a way we can slow it down?
I don't think you can. I don't know. I've tried. Many have tried.
Yeah. Like, what if you just sat and stared at a wall for like every week and just did nothing? Would it go slow still?
Yeah, it would definitely drag on then.
So
our cups are too full, Cam. We do too much stuff. So
I concur.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something.
Okay. This sounds like a good platform to do that.
Okay, let's do that. So I ran my entry-level workshop the other day, which I do regularly, pretty much it averages out at least one time a month. I run my entry-level workshop. And what it's designed to do, people who have bought a camera from me or bought a camera anywhere, I don't care where you buy your camera from, but people who have bought a camera, they've had a bit of a play with it and they've got to the point where they're starting to scratch their heads. I encourage people to come along to my entry-level workshop that I run in my store at Ocean Grove. And people come along and they get their cameras out and we go through the absolute basics of photography. What I've found over the journey is I have people come along who have been photographers, who are very, very keen photographers for years, but they come along, they do my entry-level workshop and find stuff out that they didn't realize, or they find out that they were doing something sort of wrong. And I sort of steer them in the right direction. It's great. It's a good platform for people. They then come along and do my other workshops. They listen to the podcast. I always plug the podcast at the end of the workshop. I digress. The main reason I want to bring this up was because I've basically taught that same entry-level workshop now since 1996. So
is that all?
Literally 30 years. God,
I was in year 12 in 1996.
That hurts my head when I say it like that. But I mean, it changed. Of course, I know it changed, of course, when we went from film to digital. I had to rewrite the workshop. The principles were all the same. Like the way photography works is still all the same as it is from film in terms of exposure settings and all that sort of stuff. However, just in the last couple of years, as I've been presenting the workshop, I've had to almost change it on the fly to allow for the changes in technology. Now, what I'm getting at there is, and I was asked this question by Caitlin, who was at the workshop the other night. Shout out to Caitlin. She said she'd be watching tonight. When we were talking about ISO, and basically she just raised the question of, why can't I just shoot in auto ISO all the time? And it is a valid point, and it's a valid point now. I don't think it was a valid point even 5 years ago. I think now, mind you, Caitlin was sitting there with a Sony A7R Mark V. She had a brand new model camera,
right,
expensive camera, a very, very nice piece of kit that is more than capable of shooting at pretty high ISOs and letting you get away with it. So that's where that was coming from. Down the other end of the room, we had a young girl, Olivia, hello Olivia, who had got, I think it was a camera given to her by her parents, but it was like a Canon 1500D mirrored camera with a small sensor. Yeah. And we worked out that the highest ISO we could take her camera to was about 3200 ISO, really, and that's probably pushing it 1600 really, before things started to get a little bit fuzzy, which is where I was mainly teaching only 5 years ago, saying that, you know, you've got to work out where your camera's ISO sweet spot is. In other words, take photos of it might be a vase of flowers on a coffee table. Do it in low light, crank your ISO, and look at your results, and take photos at different ISO settings just to see what that does to your shot. Well, nowadays with modern sensors, that becomes a moot point. What I'm trying to get at here is, should I still be teaching those basics in entry-level photography, or should I now be allowing for things like auto ISO? Because we've had this discussion before on here. Auto ISO is kind of manual with an asterisk, isn't it? It's like, yeah, it's still, it's manual, but with auto ISO sort of, I don't want to call it cheating. It's not cheating. It certainly helps deliver a great photo, but it has certainly changed the way we take photos. And then it became a point of, all right, well, mirrorless. Okay, what's the biggest advantage in mirrorless? And for me, it's being able to see your image, how it's going to be exposed before you take the photo. I think that's been the biggest advancement in mirrorless, is you can increase your shutter speed, you can open up your aperture, and you can see what it's doing in real time before you actually take the photo, which is another point. It's like, okay, well, do I still need to be teaching what aperture does and how it changes your photo when you can see it? Should I be teaching beginners manual is the question. And I've sort of wrestled with it for a little while. It's like, well, I think you've still got to, you got to walk before you can run with photography. You've still got to be able to, you still got to understand what shutter speed does, what aperture does, what ISO does. And for me, I also teach white balance and show people what white balance is all about. But the big three in the exposure triangle, aperture, shutter, and ISO, they have now become a lot easier, in my opinion, to master, because you can see what's happening in real time. And you can see that whether you're in aperture priority, shutter priority, or full manual. But the way I've been taking photos lately, particularly now that I've gone to a full frame mirrorless setup, is shooting a hell of a lot more in manual, because I can you change it. You change it quickly and you can see it happen in real time. Prior to that, you would change a setting, take the photo, chimp it, have a look. Oh no, that's not hang on. Go back, change it. So sorry, that was a really long-winded way of trying to explain what I want to talk about. But I'm just finding now with the new technology that teaching basics is starting to become a bit of a moot point. What do you think?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. When I teach people, I get people that are everywhere from entry level to proficiently been shooting for many years. I don't teach anyone to shoot in full manual. What I teach people is exactly what you're talking about. I teach what aperture does and how it affects, your depth of field, and what that looks like, what number represents, big number, big depth of field, small number, small depth of field. So teach them all that kind of stuff. Talk about shutter speeds, and obviously the faster the shutter speed, the more you freeze the action. The slower you go, the more movement you get with water and clouds and windy trees. We had that discussion at the waterfalls the other day with the ferns. And ISO, how that relates back to the old film days with sensitivity, and how we're just making our sensor more sensitive to the light and being able to shoot in low light or get faster shutter speeds, etc., etc. Where I don't go down the trail of teaching, purely because I think that side of things does change a lot, and I think it changes between people as well. Like you said, you had an entry level workshop there, but you had someone with a $5,000 camera and someone with probably a $500 camera. What I try and teach people is like, shoot in the mode that makes sense to you. So if you want to shoot in full manual, that's fine. There is some people that run workshops and stuff where you're not allowed to shoot in anything but manual. You've got to shoot manual, settle up, and do the whole thing. I think for entry level, I think getting the fundamentals right, like you said, getting that understanding of what all those 3 or 4 things do, regardless of what mode you shoot in, I think is critical. If you can, and I do this as well when I do workshops, is I'll have people come along who are shooting in full manual because that's what they were told to do, or they bought their camera or they were to a camera shop and whatever, or the camera club. And I'm like, first thing is like, okay, so where are you at with your understanding of aperture? Oh yeah, totally get aperture. Yep, I get shutter speed, I get ISO, I know how, understand what they all do. And then you'll go to a scene and I'll be setting up and stuff like that. And you just ask them to turn the camera off and just ask them to repeat what settings they're currently using on their camera. And 9 times out of 10, they don't know what aperture they're on. They don't know what shutter speed they're on, and they don't know what ISO they're on, but they know where the needle of the exposure is. They go, oh yeah, but it's correctly exposed in the middle. And that's not necessarily correct based on the light that you're looking for. So I think with teaching, I think you're always modifying it as you go along. And I think, and we do it on our workshops as well, you modify it based on the level of, I guess, expertise or level of knowledge from each guest that you have. So, you know, we might have people on our workshops where people are, you know, pretty good. They don't need too much help. Away they go. There's other people that are on the workshops who are completely raw and fresh to it all, who really need to be stepped through each thing. But I don't know. I've always been a little bit different, I think, and I throw caution out there about going into full manual straight away. I think, like you said, things like, you know, being able to see through a mirrorless camera now, you can see the adjustments happening as they are. They're all great improvements. But again, if the tools are still in the hands of the wrong person without the knowledge, it doesn't matter what they can see or what they can do. They're going to probably get it wrong. And in my experience, so many people shooting in manual, I would say it's like 10% of people in the shooting in manual that I meet are getting it right. 90% of them are all over the shop, not understanding. You know, they're trying to take a shot of a lovely bird on a tree, and they're shooting at f/22. And it's like, oh, why'd you do that? Oh, well, it's just really bright, so I just had to make it darker. Well, you've just lost all that beautiful soft depth of field that you need for that kind of thing. So I think, I don't know if it's a matter of refreshing the way it is. To me, I think it's more about maybe assessing each person's level of understanding, and then I think to me, it's almost just feeding them the information to go the right way. Yeah. When we're dictating as teachers, you know, look, you need, you know, and I'm not saying you do this, but like some people I do know say you need to shoot in manual, and that's it. If you want to learn how to do photography, you got to shoot in manual. And yeah, people go down that rabbit hole for years and get to the end. It's like, I still don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know why. With the, you know, the aperture priority or shutter priority, auto ISO, I think they're a great way to step people into the right direction to understand everything. And then if they choose to go use full manual because they like the idea of being able to really just play with all the dials and put all the settings in, cool. But at least they've got that fundamental bit under control first, and then they go. So yeah, it's hard, especially with technology. I think you're right. Auto ISO these days, I shoot a lot on auto ISO, just because I don't want to use a tripod 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
And I know that the new cameras and the new editing suites can allow that noise reduction to be done if there is any noise. I think mirrorless versus non-mirrorless, I think it's an absolute game changer that you can see the effects through the viewfinder. I think that's great. I think that teaches people quicker, as opposed to, like you said, getting the shot, having a look at it, chimping it and going, I've done that wrong, I'll go back again. So I think technology works in our advantage for teaching because it can help people get to a more proficient level of photography quicker, as opposed to maybe the older cameras.
Yeah, and I think for me, I think the good way to put it is it's almost like reverse engineering. Now, what I mean by that is learning what impact ISO, shutter speed, and aperture have on a set image, any given image, knowing what those three elements offer you. So, you know, as you say, aperture, you can give you a greater depth of field and a shallow depth of field. Shutter can speed up time, it can it can slow time down. And then ISO, about the light sensitivity. I think once you understand those fundamentals, you have to understand those fundamentals before you can take the next step anyway.
Yeah.
And for me, I even teach, and I do this quite often. I did it on the bus trip last year. We're at, I think I might have even mentioned this on the show before, but we're at the lake at Bogong Village. And across the other side of the lake is a tree that it's weird because it's October, but it looks like it's sort of autumn colors. It might be just a particular kind of tree that's always sort of yellowy. Anywho, I was standing there and I said to someone, what's the correct settings to shoot that tree right now? Like the leaves on that tree, what's the correct settings? And I got answers from 10 different people, 10 different answers, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, how do we know? And everyone was just sort of thinking. And I said, well, the answer's in your hand right now. And that is, put your camera on program mode, turn it to spot metering, and you've got a meter in your hand. It'll tell you by putting spot metering off the light that's reflecting off that tree. It'll show you your shutter speed and aperture for a correct exposure. And I had to sort of stop then and say, now correct exposure, folks, means what your camera manufacturer thinks is correct exposure off that light that's coming off that tree. It is not necessarily the exposure settings you want to use. It might be, but it's probably not. But it'll give you your baseline. And it was remarkable how many people did it and went, oh my God, I've got a correct exposure. It's like, that's what, and that's what I mean by reverse engineering. You're taught to use auto modes, and then you move on to program mode, and then people never put the camera back on program mode ever again, which I think is a massive oversight. You've got to use all the tools that you've got in your tool chest. So why not go back to that sometimes? And particularly when we're in dark areas where you've got like rainforest areas where you've got that mottled light and you've got a burst of light that's coming through onto, you know, a fern, and behind it, which we'll get when we go to Beauchamp Falls next week. You know, and you want everything else to be black. Well, how do you achieve that? Spot metering on program mode will do it instantly. It'll without you having to do anything. Now, when you take that photo and you get a cracking shot and you put it on a canvas and you put it on your wall, and a person walks into your house, do they stand there and go, "Oh, I bet you use program mode for that"?
Yeah,
of course we don't. Like, no one cares. It's you got the shot. You know what I mean? And there's this massive stigma out there about modes, and we fall into this rabbit hole a lot. But you know, I think being a manual shooter does not make you a photographer. Knowing when to use manual and knowing when to use the different settings, that makes you a photographer, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. We had that exact discussion on our masterclass just the other day. Is, you know, the camera. So many people think that, okay, I've got a camera, I've got $5,000 camera, $6,000 camera, $500 camera. What is that camera is going to do all the work for me? I see something pretty, I point the picture at it, take the photo, and away we go. And it's so not the case. Like, not only do we need to understand, you know, our aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, we need to understand how the camera meters those things, but we need to understand light as well. We need to understand that our eye naturally catches really nice light. So if we see something, we go, "Oh, gee, that looks really nice." It's 9 times out of 10 because our eye has seen that lovely bit of light. The camera doesn't know we're looking at that bit of light. It could only be 5% of the shot that we're taking of it that looks nice, and the rest of the camera is doing the averaging of its metering as it's meant to do. Like you said, you can chuck it on spot metering, you can adjust exposure compensation, you can do multiple things to try and make that look right. But we had this discussion over the weekend. I've just put up a couple of photos there as well. Put up the dark one to start with, and this is a raw out of camera shot. So, you know, if you put that up in front of a camera club or anyone else, they're going to go, "Oh, gee, I like the light rays, but it's really dark and I don't really like it. It's got not doing much for me." Apart from those little bit of light rays, that's the only bit of the photo that I was interested in, is the light rays, because they were the most important part of light in that shot. So what I'm doing is I'm exposing for the light that catches my eye, or the hero light, for lack of a better term, of that shot. But what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I'm underexposing and making sure that light looks nice in my histogram and or via my viewfinder. And then from that, if you put up the photo of the week that I put up there, which is the one next to it, that's what I can pull out of that file and keep that light. So if you switch between those two photos, the value of that sun rays doesn't change too much. It's fairly similar in exposure value. What I've done is I've just brought the rest of the photo up around that beautiful light and played around with the sky a little bit to make it a little bit more dark and gloomy. But so many cameras will just take the photo and you blow that bit of light out. But without having the knowledge of what that light is and knowing what my camera is doing based on the settings I'm using, so many people just go out there and just shoot without realizing that their camera is really just trying to find a middle tone to meter off and average it all out for you. And that's something else that's really important to learn, is that not only learning about what aperture does, what shutter speed does, what ISO does, what all those things do, but understanding also what the metering does of your camera and why it does it and how you can combat that. If you look at a shot and go, that's not what I'm seeing in front of me, this looks completely washed out or underexposed or overexposed, what is going on there? Most likely your camera is taking a calculation that's not the same as your brain and your eyes are taking, and that's where the difference is. So you've got to understand that exposure triangle to get that light to be right in the photo. So like I said, we spoke about it a lot, and we came back. It was quite funny. We had breakfast. We did sunrise down at the Hobart waterfront. We went and had some brekkie and just talking around brekkie before we came back to do some prints. And all three of them went, oh, I didn't sleep too well last night, Cam. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah. Like a lot of my images were dark. They didn't look good. I'm just really not sure I got anything yesterday at all. And they were literally tossing and turning during the night before they came in here. And I said, oh, okay, that's a bit of a worry. I said, but I think you're fine. I don't think you've got anything to worry about. Just stop stressing about it. I think that, oh, no, I'm not sure, Cam. I still don't think it's going to be any good. And we came back here, and every single one of them walked out with a magical print, 2 magical prints. They could have done 6 magical prints because they had actually exposed everything right, got it all right, and everything looked fine. But they were so worried about it because they didn't trust the camera was going to be doing the right thing. They were too busy looking at the camera saying this doesn't look right, instead of looking at the histogram and things like that, where it tells you that, okay, you know what, we're actually doing okay here. They were really stressed about it. But they all walked out of here with classic shots. I'll just show you. I'll just put up a couple of shots here as well. I'm sure they won't mind me putting a couple of shots up. But these are some of the end results that the customers got, not me, from files that they all thought were terrible. So that's a really cool shot from Sarah down at that southwest area. Again, she exposed, there was some beautiful mood going on in the background. That foreground was quite dark in her raw file because we were obviously exposing for that light that we saw that caught her eye. But she was wrapped with that. She got that printed. That was one of her final prints. She was really happy with that. And then the next one, which was a waterfall, Russell Falls. Again, we exposed just for that waterfall water. We decided that it looked better in black and white because the color temperature, the actual color at the time of day was really blue and green. It looked a bit unreal. So she was able to edit that. That looked incredible printed. So this is Jackie's one. This looked incredible as an A2. And then Deb, she picked one of her final images as well, which is the same thing, the light rays. And again, she thought this file was not any good, and she skipped past it a few times. I went, come back to that. I said, you've got the entire full range of those sun rays going across the whole lake there with that little tree silhouetting. It's beautiful, you know. So, yeah, I think, like you said, going back to what you originally said, teaching is I guess it's very individual as well. We all teach differently. But I think it goes without saying that if you want to get into photography and you want to really start to sort of make ground on getting better at it, like Brendan said, understand the basics, understand the fundamentals, and make sure you understand them before you start going into all these difficult modes and full manual modes and all that kind of stuff, or before you get on YouTube and watch the 3-hour processing of a photo video. Actually just learn how to get the photo right in the camera, and away you go. So talk about crapping on. I've crapped on there as well. Sorry.
Fine. Well, just coming back to this photo here, which was, as you say, pretty much the original exposure that you went for.
Yeah.
What people could understand as well is with modern day digital camera. In fact, digital cameras of the last 10 years really have got so many stops of what we call dynamic range built into them, which is basically your camera's ability to see highlights, detail in highlights and shadows at the same time. You can't see it when you can't see it on your screen when all you've done is expose for the light that you want to be your hero in the shot, but it is there. And this is where it's really important to understand that if you do something like clipping the highlights, in other words, if those clouds up above weren't there and it was just big bright sky, well, of course, that's all just going to be white out. That's going to be blown out where you've clipped the highlights. You can't get data back from clipped highlights. However, if you expose just for the light that you see and the light that you want to expose for, and just let everything else fall where it does, you'll probably find 9 times out of 10 when you come to lighten those areas, you're probably only within 2 or 3 stops of dynamic range of where you want it to be anyway. But your camera's got 10 to 14 stops of dynamic range. So the scope that you've got is massive to play with, where you can pull back detail in areas of shadow that you didn't even see with your naked eye. I guarantee you, if you took that shot there and you took your exposure slider all the way to the right, you would start to see the trees in that silhouetted trees on the left. You'd be able to see individual trees. Yeah,
absolutely. And if something else I'll just reiterate about that shot versus the final shot is that's one frame. It's not a exposure blending. It's not doing a shot for the light and the shot for the sky. It's all one, like Brendan said, it's all in one file. And that's the whole secret for me is you got your histogram on the screen. It tells you what you can and can't capture. That's your dynamic range of your camera pretty much. And you got to make sure that highlight sits within that histogram without peaking at one end. And then, like you said, you can always bring a lot more out of your shadows, and whether or not you need any out of your shadows as well, depending on what sort of look you're going for. But you've always got room in your shadows usually to bring them up, unless it's an extremely middle of the day, super contrasty day where the dynamic range sort of squeezes outside what the camera can do. You've always got room in there. And this is why I scratch my head sometimes when I look at other people's work. And, I'm the same as everyone else. I'll go on YouTube and have a look at things. And people that are exposure blending things in and focus stacking things in, I'm like, you don't always have to do that. Like it's almost like the blending and the stacking these days is a style of photography. It's not people just using it as a tool. That they're creating the style of image they want, not maybe realizing that if you want all those exposure values through your scene, you've already got them on the one file. Unless you're shooting at terrible times of day, usually in that late afternoon or that early morning, you've got 7 or 8 stops of dynamic range. And like you said, your cameras have got 13 or 14 stops. So, 8 or 9 goes into 14, 1 and a bit. So you've got plenty of room in there to get all your details out. And just to throw back to a bit of film days, talking about dynamic range, like you said there, like my camera, I think it's got like a 14 stop dynamic range on one of my cameras. When you used to shoot slide film, you had 5 stops of latitude or 5 stops of dynamic range in your film. We've got 3 times that amount. Have a look at the photos that the Peter Dombrovskis, the Peter Eastways, the Ken Duncans. Have a look at the photos they created of 5 stops of dynamic range. Have a look at the time of day they were shooting them at. And you can't tell me that you can't get those kind of shots on a digital camera in one frame now. You don't need to blend or do any other bullshit like that. Just do it right in camera once and just get it right. Yeah. I get passionate about this.
Yeah, my experience from watching various YouTubers and stuff like that, particularly those who quite often default to focus stacking or exposure blending, are the ones that are producing massive prints, gallery stuff, a lot of these, or books and that sort of stuff, where detail is paramount. But I'm with you. I quite often see someone focus stacking for the sake of it, like for no other reason other than that's what they want to focus stack it. Now, some subjects lend itself to focus stacking. For example,
macro is a big one where focus stacking is big.
100%. Yeah, because you're shooting wide open at such shallow depths of field that macro, you need to do it. Whereas with landscape photography, F8 and show up, mate. It's pretty much, you're going to have all the depth you need in terms of focus stacking. But I think more overly with exposure blending, Yeah, I don't sort of see the need to. I mean, I tell you what I've done in the past is I've taken the one raw file, processed it 3 different ways, and then exposure blended it. It's the same file.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's right.
Just to see if there's much difference in what I can achieve. If I want to be really picky with one particular area and I don't want to rely on a brush or anything like that, I'll do it that way. I'll actually exposure blend, but off the one raw file. And in fact, it goes back to the early 2000s. Remember when HDR photography was a big thing?
Oh yeah, yeah.
People were, and all people were doing then was the same thing. They were taking one raw file and then processing it 2 stops over, 0, and then 2 stops under, and then blending those 3 with HDR software. And I mean, look, it was kind of cool, but it just looks so fake. And you look back on it now, it's like, what were we thinking? Like, it's awful.
Yeah. Yeah, and and you're right. Like it looks a bit poxy, and there's trends that go through there, and like I get a little bit of a giggle, when you watch some of these bigger YouTube photographers, and great, good on them. They're out there, and I know we've interviewed a few of them, and they're great people, and they're great photographers in their own right. But I always have a bit of a giggle when they go, oh, if this looks any good, here's the shot, and that's not a throwaway to Gavin Hardcastle, but that's what he says. But they all say it. Oh, here's the shot on the screen, and you look at it. It might be this beautiful shot in Europe over mountains and stuff like that, and it's all that nice looking shot, and then you see f7.1, and you're like, well, that's bullshit, because f7.1 would not get you that much depth. You've clearly stacked the shit out of it, and you've put about 10 shots together. So maybe you've done 10 shots at 7.1. So then I always think to myself, okay, well, either you're not really understanding what everything does in that exposure triangle, and you're just relying on the focus stacking to get you that sharpness, or you know what you're doing and you don't really care because you're going to focus stack it later on. So I'm, like I said, I'm very passionate about it, and people that come on workshops and master classes will know that I'm very much a one frame person. I shoot like I'm shooting film. I get it right in camera as much as I can, so I don't have to polish that turd, as I say, later on in the editing suite. And it works. It works for me. I get nice results. I'm happy with my photography. But I do see a lot of people who come into workshops and trips and say, so do you focus stack? Can you teach me how to focus stack? Well, no, I don't focus stack. I can tell you all about it. I can tell you how to do it. But here's another alternative. You don't actually have to do it if you get it right and use the right depth of field. If you want to create those fanciful shots where you've got those beautiful flowers in the foreground and 3,000 kilometers of mountains going out the back, then you might have to do something like that. But to me, that's not necessarily photography. That's more like digital photography, where you're creating an image from multiple images or multiple sort of sections. So they're all different, but I guess the message is just understand the fundamentals right. Trust, like I always say, trust the histogram, make sure that's all looking fine on your camera. And if you don't want to shoot in aperture mode, manual mode, shutter mode, or pro, whatever, if something's working for you and you're getting results that you're happy with, and you're not shooting in manual mode, that's okay. You're not less of a photographer. Like you said before, I've never had anyone come up to me and go, I really love that shot of Cradle Mountain, Cam. Was it manual or aperture priority or program? They don't give a shit. They're connecting to the location or the moment or the scene. So, we're only talking about it between ourselves, what mode you're in. So
can I tell you a quick little story about that? Can I say where it was? I won't even say where it was, but I saw it happen. And I was at a workshop, and there was a particular person who was, I was just watching what they were doing because I was trying to teach them. So I just stood back and watched them for a while and see what they were doing. They held their camera up to their eye. They got frustrated. They put their camera down. They turned their camera to program. They took a photo, and then as they were putting their camera back down, they turned their dial back to manual, so that when the camera was down by their side, everyone would think that they shot in manual. Now, was that
Tom Putter Beefop?
That's a little bit sad that people think that someone's going to point and laugh at them because they shot a photo in program mode. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, and people do that, and there's this whole phobia around not shooting in manual, and And to be honest, like again, everyone each their own. People who teach people and run workshops and stuff like that. Teach how you want. That's fine, no problems. I don't. That's your business. But if you're going to have people on a workshop and just say you have to shoot manual only, I think that's quite detrimental to your guests. If and I think that shows maybe a lack of teaching at Nous, that you should be able to identify when you say to someone, okay, so we're going to be shooting a manual only today and manual exposure, and they go, oh, okay, I've tried that. Don't force it down their throat. Just turn around to them and say, well, what have you worked and what hasn't worked? Let's see what mode you'd like to work in, and work with them in that mode, because they're going to get better results if they're understanding things, as opposed to just chucking them in the deep end without floaties on for 1 or 2 days and then going, okay, thanks for your money. See you later. Have a good time. And then they do the rounds and they come back to me and they're like, well, such and such said manual, such and such said manual. I haven't taken a good shot in the last 6 years. And you put them onto aperture priority or program or shutter mode, and they're taking shots within 3 minutes that they're happy with. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be.
And I think at the end of the day, what I've found over the journey, and I've found it with people that, and I'm talking people who've been coming back to me for ages doing workshops or getting me to print their photos. And this is what happens when you run a camera store in a relatively small town, is you get regular people that come in and talk photography. It's pretty cool, actually. And they'll show me photos. What I find is people that do persevere with learning the basics, with mastering aperture priority, with mastering shutter priority, with mastering what ISO can do for you, they're the people who, yes, end up invariably shooting in manual a lot, but only because they did all the hard yards first, and they now understand what happens when you turn this scroll wheel and that scroll wheel, and you're changing shutter and you're changing aperture. It's more than just, it's a speed thing, and they're getting more photos. Their strike rate improves because they're not just rolling the dial haphazardly and looking through the viewfinder. The light's gone then. It's looking at the light and going, okay, I know how to do this. I know that F11 works here. I know that I need this shutter speed. Okay, I'm tripod mounted. I can go down to this shutter speed, all that sort of stuff. So for me, and I don't know if you found this as well, Cam, but I've found just in terms of speed of getting the shot quicker when the light's there. Because as you know, the light can last 10 seconds sometimes less.
I tell you what, I'm going to disagree with you on that one.
Yeah,
as we can do, because we're allowed to do that. I actually find that manual mode slows people down more because you've got more to do. So, for example, if you're like, we're out at the southwest the other day and we had that big view of the mountains and the clouds and all that kind of stuff. My depth of field I've chosen, I want that large depth of field with that scene. That's fine. The shutter speed I don't worry about because nothing's moving. I had it on a tripod at ISO 100. I don't have to do anything. I can pick up that tripod and walk on the other side and put it down there and go, well, I want this. And all I got to do if I want to is just adjust that exposure compensation. I actually find, in my experience, manual mode, unless they're proficient, like you said, if they're really quite proficient in it and they understand, you would find if people are quite proficient in that they're probably not changing all those part of the triangle. They're probably just changing a couple of things. Shutter speed, most for landscape, probably. But I've found it's probably a bit slower for people. Maybe I've misunderstood that. Maybe if you're talking about people that are proficient, then they're probably quite speedy.
That's what I meant. I meant people that are, for lack of a better word, experts, professional photographers. But I think what it's done over the journey is it's given me a bit more freedom in terms of when don't even have to have the camera up to my eye. You just get to a location and, okay, here's wildlife. I know in my brain what shutter speed I need. I see flying birds. I want 1/500th and above. How do I achieve that? I know I need this, this, and this. And the equation works itself out in your brain manually. There's no way I get to that equation without learning all the other stuff first. Okay, 35 years of experience. That's great. But back in the day, I still had to know, what the hell does shutter speed actually do to this shot? What does aperture actually do to this shot? So, anyway, we've gone on far too long on that subject, but it was a good one.
I like it. That was good. Glad you brought it up.
Nice. I'm good for that sort of stuff. What we thought we'd do as well last week, and thanks for all the feedback last week on our photos from Kangaroo Island. There was some really positive comments. Thank you so much. We love getting the comments. If you want to leave a comment, you can do so down below, or you can flick us a line through our Facebook page, or if you head over to dsps.com.au, you can even send us a bloody email. Remember those things?
Yeah.
People don't read emails.
Rumor has it no one reads them, no.
But what we've got here is a few photos from some of the guests that came along with us to Kangaroo Island. So we're going to chuck some up on the stage, and here's the first one. Now, Cam, have you seen these, Cam?
Not all of them, no.
Well, this is. I'm just going to put this over it.
Shazbang. So see, there's again, we've harped on about Shazbang. Shazbang is she's got a bit of a reputation. Even people on the weekend were asking about Shazbang. She's come a long way with her photography, and I think she gets it now. Like you said, she's got that idea of what everything does, and just loving it. So, so what are we doing? Are we critiquing these, or just looking?
Yeah, I think it's just a bit of like dead honest critique. People who have sent these in know that we're here to not pull it apart, not destroy them, not shoot them down. Constructive criticism if it needs it. I think this looks like it's from where the lighthouse is.
It does. It does.
On the morning 3 or whatever it was, we went across to the lighthouse.
Cape
Willoughby Lighthouse, correct.
Yeah. All right.
On first glance, Cam, what do you think of this?
I don't mind it. I wouldn't say I overly love it, but I don't mind it. I'm going to be honest, as this is honest critiquing. I would have liked to maybe see, like, first things first, I'm not a huge fan of shooting directly into the sun. That's something I try and not do on sunrise and sunsets. I like that lovely side lighting. So, for example, the bit of grass that's in front of that rock, it's catching all the light. I love that little bit. So for me, for this shot, one, that the lighthouse is not in it to the left. I would have liked Shazbang to maybe move around to the right and have part of that lighthouse in it. I understand that rock with the dark bit is probably what the focal point of that is. For me, I would have either moved around a bit to the right to bring the lighthouse in, or get in tighter and get, you can almost cut out that sort of third of the left-hand side. There's not much going on there for me. I would have probably got down a bit lower, maybe shot more, have the sun out to the left, have more of the ocean out there, and use that beautiful light. But it does have beautiful light. But for me, I think just a tighter crop on that rock and that beautiful grass in the foreground would have done it for me.
Yeah, for me, it's just simply too busy, and that's what I'm assuming what you're talking about by uncluttering the scene a little bit. I mean, you're quite right. The light's fantastic, and the light on the grasses in that foreground is the best part. But there's just too much of it going on behind the rock. It's a bit too much of a distraction. Look, again, I get the idea, but you're quite right. And possibly even slightly overexposed as well on the grass itself. I'd probably go back a click or two just to sort of soften that a little more if you can. But yeah, I mean, I as I say, I can see where you're coming from. It's not a bad photo at all, but it's just a busy image with a lot. Your eye sort of jumps all over the place at first glance.
Yeah, it's got a lot. It's got a lot in it going on. It's probably got 3 shots in it as opposed to sort of just the one. So I reckon there could have been, maybe a little bit of a tighter crop and things like that might have looked a bit better. Just to bring out that rock and the rock, the light on the rock and the grass on the rocks is really nice. But it's got, it's probably, you're right, probably a tad busy. Because I'm a marvel, if you have a look at what I've just uploaded there in a second, I would have liked to have seen maybe a crop a little bit like that, maybe a bit more sky, but just taking out that sort of, that sort of wastage on the left-hand side of the frame. I think bringing that in a bit closer, and maybe, like I said, maybe a wider angle, same sort of framing, but wider angle to bring in more of that sun and the clouds in. Just a bit tighter, sort of just honed your eye a bit more onto that rock and the light.
Well, Shazbang went ahead and sent us in 3 photos. So this is the second of hers that I've got to show you.
All right. She's going to hate us, isn't she? That one, I don't mind that one. she did get wet again on that one. I remember seeing that one. I love the color in the water, and I like the rock detail in the background. So again, maybe like I'm just looking at the left-hand side of that frame. There's not much going on in that side of the frame. Like there's, at least we've got the power line thing and the jetty running out to sort of the right-hand side, the little shed and stuff like that. So again, maybe just for Shazbang, maybe again, just double check your cropping and whether or not you can actually bring a bit more into your shot, as opposed to, bringing the photo in a bit more as opposed to getting everything involved. That might be a better option for her.
For me, again, it would be a square crop, mate. I think if you cropped just maybe an inch to the right of the power line on the right, and then maybe an inch to the side of the leg of the jetty, the post of the jetty, a square crop there would probably, that'd look pretty cool. I think squares are underrated. I quite like square crops.
Yeah, square crops are good. I was just trying to do the same for this one, but I think maybe a square crop could have helped. But I think the idea is right for Shazbang. I think she just needs to just bring things in not stupidly tight, but just bring them all in a little bit tighter. So she might be using a wide angle lens that she likes. But again, I like the other thing that's maybe a little bit distracting for me on this shot is that shoreline is like straight through the middle of the frame. We've almost got a horizon going straight through the middle of the frame. I think the watercolor is magnificent. I think the sky color is probably not that great. So I think, again, cropping and just moving that water line a bit higher in the frame, less blue sky, might have been nice, or even just tilting the camera down a bit more and getting some nice watercolor in there. Unfortunately, I can't crop that one because it's not letting me import it for some reason.
Okay. There you go. Well, I think one thing I will say about this photo, no one else got it.
No.
So hats off to Shazbang. I mean, and sometimes that's the difference. But mind you, I just noticed the seagull on the side of the jetty too. Sometimes that's the difference. Is it's putting yourself, getting your feet wet, literally
in harm's way. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I saw a great white go through here not 2 seconds before she took this photo as well. So well done, Shaz.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great concept. If I had have been there and got down on that angle to try and get under the jetty, I would have been so pissed off at that bloody white pipeline that runs under the jetty. That annoys me. That.
Oh yeah. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it's just sort of a man. I mean, the whole thing's man-made, but it's this plastic thing that sort of and it's white. That annoys me. But I don't know whether you could even remove that in Photoshop or something. But yeah, I think for me, a square crop with the jetty slightly off to the left, square crop, keeping the power line in the right and the little shed structure or whatever it is in on the right as well would work a lot better.
Well, if you want to show people that crop, there's a square one there that I've done, a bit of a square one, and then
let's have a look. Yeah,
that's something like that. Again, the other thing, again, that horizon in the middle for me is a bit of a no-go, but the other one I've put up there, I've just cropped it, similar sort of crop, but I've just lifted up that horizon a bit more and just got more. So the turquoise water really becomes prominent. You're not it's not getting challenged by that blue sky either. So still good effort.
Nice. And then Shaz sent us in 3, so this is her 3rd effort. And I think for me, this is where, now, of course, we were there, so we saw all this going on. I mean, those light rays are pretty specky there, Shaz.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I mean, the fact that it's almost disappointing that no one but probably Cameron and myself can see the 2 seals on the shoreline down there. It's because we know they're there. They actually, from here, they look like birds, but it's actually so if you look almost dead center of the frame and then slightly left, you'll see 2 little sort of pointy objects that look like they're birds sitting on the end of that rock. They're actually not. They're seals down in the bay having fun. They were having a ball, those 2. They were playing in the sunset. I reckon they were brothers, just giving each other grief. It was quite funny at one point.
Yeah, they were very active, especially like active when the sun sort of went down. Like as the sun went down, the more active they became. It was just like, this is the end of the day. This is our last bit of light to have a bit of fun and annoy the shit out of mum and dad, and away they went. So So yeah, this one, the classic, like it's not one dimensional. You can sort of certainly do a couple of different sort of shots here, but that's a classic sort of sunset shot. This is one of those ones where shooting into the sun, I'm okay with, because you got no other choice, because you're looking through a hole that's looking straight at the sun. But you get those beautiful sun rays and bouncing off the ceiling of the cave and along the wet bits of the rock. So for me, the only thing maybe on this that I'm not sure about is the color temperature. Maybe it looks a bit orange. Like, I know it was very orange, but it looks like it might be a little bit maybe too much for me. It might be our screen that we've got here, but that's only a minor adjustment that I'll be looking at. But the rest of it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I really like. I mean, it was such a cool spot to see this, and we mentioned this last week on the show, but you really only get the sun coming through the hole in the arch only for a few weeks of the year. And we were lucky enough to be there when it was, we planned it perfectly so that our lovely guests would be there at the right time to get this. One thing that I think lets this image down, and it's so easy to do, and I did it myself, and that is, you can tell that whatever filter is being used here wasn't cleaned properly. And that's easy to do. You're near the ocean. You can see in the top right, there's little specks. That's all just from a spray or dust or something that's on the filter. So you've got to make sure your filter is very, very clean and your lens, of course, is very, very clean when you do shots like this, because you'll just pick up light prisms left, right, and center, which is what's gone on here.
Totally.
You can, to a certain degree, tidy those up in Photoshop, but ideally you just get it right on the night and you're there and you've got everything nice and clean. So, hey, Shaz, awesome. 3 very, very cool photos. So thank you very much for sending those in.
I just put up one where I just cooled it down a little bit.
Let's have a look.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe less.
Is cooling it down added too much magenta though? I mean, it looks like
maybe a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think somewhere in the middle ground. I mean, I think but I think when we were there, it was like that. I mean, it was bloody hell. That was harsh light, wasn't it? It was remarkable to shoot into that kind of light. It almost became a bit of a head scratcher even for me. I'm sort of stood there and I'm like, hang on, how do I had to sort of recalibrate. You rarely, as you said earlier, you rarely on purpose want to shoot into direct light, but this is one of the exceptions to the rules.
Yeah, especially when you can't go anywhere else.
Well, that's right. You're pretty much married to that spot. Right. We've got some more. Would you like to see some more?
Yes, do some more.
So, sorry, loading. There we are.
Yeah. From Christina.
From Christina. So this was day one when we got down to the Remarkable Rocks for sunset. The Remarkable Rocks are crazy. They are just an absolute gold mine for photography, purely because they're so bloody different. And you see so many curves and lines, and then you smatter it with awesome lichen and the red color and the blue sky behind, all that sort of stuff. What I found and what I find every time I go to the Remarkable Rocks is you've got to immerse yourself in it and sort of be there for a while, maybe even not with your camera up to your eye. You've just got to sort of walk around a bit and sort of, how am I going to do this? Because it is so bloody busy. And I think Christina's done a pretty sound job here. I like the layering, like starting at the bottom with the darker rocks and it goes up through the light all the way up to the sky. It's a little on the busy side for mine, and I'm not sure that a tighter crop and then a slight move to the right wouldn't have fixed it, because that boulder that's jutting in on the hard right-hand side, to me, acts as a bit of a weight to the right-hand side of this image and sort of throws it a little bit off kilter. And again, I know how hard it is to frame up shots here. So you've done really well. But I think that one on the right-hand side needs to go. And whether or not that means stepping closer, just so you've still got the 2 rocks at the base and then the clean shot up to that, well, for want of a better term, the Remarkables in the distance. I think it's pretty cool. Maybe it's the angle that the clouds are on in the back that sort of makes me feel like this isn't straight, but I'm guessing that's just how it was. I mean, with no horizon to judge it by, it feels like it's tilted to the right, this image. But again, it's tricky to know. But overall, pretty cool. Yeah,
I'm with you. That boulder on the right, it does bring it in a bit. and distracted a little bit. I like the two little boulders with the shadowing in the foreground. I like them. Yeah, it's an amazing spot, and yeah, one that you definitely need to do a couple of laps around to make sure it looks, how you want it to look. Because there is 1,000 photographs going on there that you could take. So yeah, for me, that little rock, yeah. And I'm just sort of looking at it now, thinking if I could crop it out or not. You could maybe crop it out, but you're going to sort of maybe lose some of that little rock. But yeah, I think it's a good job in a messy location. And I think one of the hardest things about that shot that we experienced as well was just getting your own bloody shadow out of the shot, because every time we went somewhere there was a shadow of a rock or something like that getting in the way. So she's done a good job there to get that composition. I would have liked to have seen maybe a polarizer on that sky. It looks like it's not polarized. Maybe get a deeper blue in that sky potentially. And I've just done a little bit of a quick edit to how I think it would be a little bit better. I think it's a bit dark. I think it can be actually maybe brightened up a bit and maybe warmed a little bit. And I've just taken out that side rock a bit as well.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, it's good. It's a good composition. It's just one of the big things I teach is just check the outside of your frame. If there's something that's popping in, most people that look at these photos like myself and Brendan, the first thing we're going to do is the same thing, is scan that frame, and that big boulder really takes away from those really cute little two boulders in front of them. So like I said, that's just a matter of just moving or even just zooming in a little bit just to crop them out. Would have probably made it a bit nicer, but it's still pretty cool.
Yep. Okay. Yep. And then we've got this one.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, this was holy smokes! Did we get lucky with this sunrise? I mean, it was phenomenal. It was probably, for my money, probably the best sunrise I saw this year. And we happened to be on Kangaroo Island on a photo tour doing it.
Yeah,
the light just got better and better, and just when you thought it wasn't gonna get any better, it did. The way that this old stick jetty, whatever it is. Do you reckon it ever was a jetty? I'm not sure. I think it's been.
Well, I don't know. Well, I think we mentioned it at the time. Like, how big was it? Like, it's so tall. Like,
yeah.
What were they parking there to get off the jetty?
And it was so shallow. Like, even when at high tide, it's still only knee deep there.
Yeah.
But the cormorants came in and they sat on the post for us. They gave us these awesome reflections. What I really like about this photo is that Christina, and I'm sure she did it intentionally, was she didn't have the top of the post lined up with the horizon. That is a bugbear of mine. I see it so often where people, when you stand at eye level here, those posts pretty much line up with the horizon. So you got to get a little lower to shoot slightly up to get that separation of the post to the background, or you get higher where you've literally just you can see a clean horizon with the post in the foreground. But the way Christina's done it here is really, really good. I think of the 3 photos Christina sent us, this is, well, we've only seen 2 so far, but I think this one's better than the last one. I love the silhouettes. I love everything about this photo. I think it's really, really well executed.
Yeah. Maybe that height thing was natural with Christina. Maybe she didn't mean to do it. Maybe it's just natural. Like I can talk. Yeah, I like it too. I think it's great. Yeah, it was one of those moments, wasn't it? We had a beautiful morning where it just went right for us, and we were there with the camera snapping away. So I can't see anything major that I'd probably change with that. The last 3 posts at the end, I got that lovely little gap. Whether or not moving around a bit further could have maybe brought those gaps a bit more apart and separated those birds at the end. Maybe that's really nitpicking, but sky's great. Exposure looks really good. Yeah, good job.
Hats off to Christina. That's a cracker. And then a third one from Christina was this one.
Oh yeah, that's cool too. Again, nice square crop. She's listing obviously live as we speak. All the people that got shots of the seals along here, or the sea lions, where they are, they all got great color on them. Like the light on the chest of all these animals are just incredible. So again, we were a bit limited as to where we could stand there. So in a perfect scenario, having the full seal reflecting in the water would have been lovely, but you obviously can't get that when you're stuck on a single spot. But lovely framed, well edited. They got beautiful expressions on their face. They're just enjoying that morning sun. I don't think I could do too much to edit that. Maybe like the square crop works for me, but maybe something a bit wider, or even like a 16:9 crop, just to give a bit more of the environment to where they are. Might have been nice. But otherwise, yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I think so too. I pretty much echo what you just said. I can't really pick much wrong with this. It could be my screen, it could be my eyes. It does look like it's shot at a relatively high ISO. It does. Am I seeing grain there? I'm not sure, but and I don't know why that would have been the case, given that the light was really, really good. So I could be wrong, but it does look like it's shot at a slightly higher ISO, which can help if Christina might have been following the rule of thumb as so far as when you're at zoom, you match your shutter speed to how many millimeters your zoom lens is. But I think in this case, you may not have needed to do that given how much light was available. But that's a cool shot. I love it. I think these guys, the Labradors of the Sea, as I kept calling them down there.
Yeah.
I think square crops are great, and I think it really suits this image. And again, nitpicking, if you went to a 16:9 crop and then put these two animals on the right, where the right third intersects, just so I always like when I'm seeing animals, if they're faced a certain direction, I like to give them room to look into in the frame. I think to me just adds a fair bit of balance. But no, hats off to you for the square crop though. I think that works really well. So great job, Christina. 3 awesome photos.
Yeah, awesome.
We've got 2 to come. We had a couple of photos sent in. I'll start with this one.
Oh, yeah.
So this was the tunnel trees where we went to a couple of times. Immediately my eye is drawn to the tunnel, and right down the bottom at the end, there looks like something that is really distracting. Now, I don't know what that is. It looks like something is reflecting, or I don't know whether it's a bough of a tree that just caught a heap of light, but
it's not your car, is it?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I would immediately clone that out. That goes out of this frame, because that's too much. It's just something that takes my eye straight to it. Otherwise, the exposure is pretty solid. I probably would have zoomed in a little more. I found particularly the brushy looking tree right across the top. Again, that blocks the tunnel view further down, the view where the trees actually make a proper tunnel. I think that sort of blocks out a little. So maybe just zooming in a bit. But it looks like, other than that really bright spot at the end, it looks like the exposure is pretty good. It looks like the composition is pretty good. I like how the road is slightly anchored towards the right, where you've got basically where the road meets the frame. It's at the bottom left-hand corner and the bottom right-hand corner, and yet that road seems to tilt off to the right slightly. I quite like that.
See, it's funny because that's the bit that's annoying me. I would rather see this being really symmetrical with the tunnel in the middle of the frame and the road being in the middle of the frame. So for me, I would have cropped this in a bit tighter and tried to even those all up a bit. Again, that's just personal preference, but again, I would have maybe, because we had some really nice light coming through there, I would have maybe liked to seen it a bit warmer, maybe a bit more warmer light, or because it was quite nice that afternoon. But yeah, overall, it's a beautiful scene. It just, like I said, we have difference of opinions in that cornering of the road. I would have liked to seen it all squared up a bit. Or if you're going to do that, give it more road, give it more bend in the road or something. Let it really lead out to the side of the frame. But yeah, that's a cool spot. But yeah, I would have maybe, like, it's a square crop, I would have probably just squared it up a bit more and got that tunnel right in the middle of it. But apart from that,
I think maybe a little bit more zoom. As I say, that the sort of brushy looking tree at the top is not doing my head in by any stretch of the imagination, but it's certainly not. I don't know. There's something that's sort of and again, I suppose it's probably because we were there. We know what this could deliver. Now, if you just bear with me for a sec, I've actually just done an edit on it. So
have you just? Oh, look at us editing on the fly, eh?
Well, I hope people take this the right way. They don't mind us actually editing their photos. They're not our photos, so I'm sure they do. I'm sure they don't mind.
Send your photos in so we can redo them for you.
That's right.
Well, that's funny. You put up your crop and then put up my crop, and we'll see.
Well, I want to see if I did it right. Hang on. Bear with me for a sec. Technology's... Oh, no, I've got too many photos up. Hang on. You know how technology likes to
screw you over.
Talk amongst yourselves for a second.
Yes. So, why are you doing that, Brendan? I'll tell you what. I will talk amongst myself. Go. Yep. While we're talking about editing and things like that, I got approached by the guys at DxO who do a whole heap of plugins for Lightroom and Photoshop for editing. They do like a black and white editing software. They do a raw editing software. They do a whole heap of different things. Color contrasting software and all that kind of stuff. DxO, it's a suite of software that's called Nik Effects, Nik. They've actually given me a code that people can use to get 15% off their products. So if people go to the DxO software site, we can put a link below, and you can use a discount code, which is CAM15. They'll give you 15% off that whole suite. It will probably save you about $50 or so, which maybe not $50. What is about $40? But an amazing suite of software. They do a noise reduction. They do a sharpening. They got a film stimulator one, which does every type of film you can see, and it actually does a very, very good job of it. So if you love the look of Velvia 100 Fuji, you can actually put a lot of your files through this software, and it'll add that look to your photos. So like a plugin. But DxO, check it out. Nik Effects, Nik Collections, and you'll get 15% off if you use that code.
Discount code again, please.
It's CAM15. Yeah, great. It's a tricky one.
There you go.
Yeah.
CAM15. If you use that.
Well, yeah, and
it will be linked below.
Yeah, the link is in our notes now as well. If people want to go in there and just check out the Nik collection. So yeah, they approached me a couple of months ago. They gave me access to them. I was actually using them anyway. It's something I've been using for a little while. Just for, especially for black and white stuff, they have a really good black and white processor. And then some of the color images I do, they have a contrast adjustment, which gives it like a real pop, along with a heap of other stuff. So worth checking it out. Like I said, you get 15% off for free because we like you guys.
How good's that?
Yeah.
Who said we did editing yet? No, I have. Well done. I said to talk amongst yourselves, and you did. So let's go back. This is so.
Yep.
Thank you to Rick Lang for sending in this photo. Yeah, we were talking about how we might fix it. This is pretty much what I would have done with it. First of all, got rid of that bright light at the end. Zoomed it up. So I've just obviously used digital zoom to bring this up, cropped it after the fact, which still gives that road pretty much the straight lines where it fell earlier. And I very, very slightly warmed it up as well. So that's how I would have done that. And this is Cam's. So that's your square crop.
Wasn't it originally a square crop? No.
Yeah, it was. Beg your pardon.
Yeah.
So you've just warmed it up.
No, I just cropped it. I just cropped it in more. I haven't warmed it up.
Oh, there you go. Right. Okay. So there's Rick's original.
Yeah.
This is Cam's edit. There you go.
Yep. So I like it being more in the middle, and then you've got it a bit warmer and out to the side.
So isn't that amazing? One same frame, three completely different looks. So that's the original. That is Cam's edit. And that's Brendan's edit. So that's how we would season that to taste, and we've ended up with two completely different photos. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, which is not unusual. Now, you and I do shoot quite differently. I think. Like I don't think we get to the end. We probably get some similar results, but we get there differently. I think.
Yeah,
we take different roads through forests,
which I think is beneficial. I like when we go away and we've got 8 people with us. And we're teaching slightly different. It's always with the best of intentions to try and get the better image or a better image of what you're looking at, but it's our opinion, of what works, and it's so subjective. What works for me doesn't work for the next person. So I think it's really cool. Rick sent us in a couple. This is Rick's other photo. I really like this photo.
Ooh, yeah, that's cool. Photoshop, that looks AI. That's not real.
I tell you what, it looks is sharp.
Yeah,
he's He's definitely got that right. I think that works really well. I mean, the two cormorants, particularly on the left hand side, look fantastic, with one with wings up, one with wings down.
Yeah.
You could almost get rid of the other three completely, and it'd still be a great photo. But the fact that there is a line of 5 of them really works well. I love the fact that the horizon is not in the center of the frame, because dead center is dead boring. There's a lot to like about that image, Rick. I think you've done well.
Is the horizon running uphill to the right slightly?
I'm going to have to put my my ruler on this. Hang on, let's see. Okay, it's about there.
It is. On
my screen. It's not far off though.
Come on, Rick.
I'm just looking. It's we're talking millimeters, Cam.
It is. It's a millimeters out.
I don't know. Is it? I've got this up on the screen. I've got my measure thing on the screen, and it's not far out.
I've just done a crop of it here, and it's a little bit out, but that's okay. I like it too. I think it was a great moment. They just kept coming, didn't we? I think we spoke about this last week. The birds, it was like they were doing laps of the island and just kept coming back. So I like it. I like the fact that yes, the horizon is not in the middle. I like the 4 or 5 birds that are all separated. Little reflections of them, really cool. Again, I would have liked maybe slightly skinnier crop on this one. I think there's maybe a bit too much of the lines in the water in the foreground are sort of catching my eye a bit. So I've just done a quick crop to letterbox it a bit more. But apart from that, it's very cool. It's good, good shot. And like I said, the horizon's straight now. You can tell. So yeah, another great shot by Rick. It's and that's the thing, like you just got to be there, don't you? You got to be there, ready to go. And they came flying past, and we were ready to go, and away it went.
No, that worked really well. Awesome. Hey, thanks everyone who sent those in for us, because they were really cool. We really enjoy seeing that sort of stuff. And as you can see, the caliber of image that we achieved on Kangaroo Island was absolutely brilliant. So if you'd like to join us on Kangaroo Island next year, you can head over to dsps.com.au. All the details for our Kangaroo Island 2027 tour are up there for you. Go and check them out. And if you missed the link before, it will be in the notes below for the DxO software. But that is the actual link on your screen if you want to grab a screen grab of that and head over to dxo.com and you enter the discount code CAM15 and you will get I'm assuming a 15% discount from their software.
No, I get 15% back.
Oh, that's
that's it. No, 15% off their software. It is what I would suggest to people is go and trial it. You get it, like you can get a 7-day free trial of it. Go and trial it, put a few images through the different software that it is, like the black and white, the color one, the film effects and the sharpening and all that noise stuff. So give it a go for 7 days. If you like it, then obviously you can get a discount. If you don't, no harm done. Doesn't worry me.
Question without notice. Have you used it?
I use it all the time. Yeah, I have been using it. Hand on heart, I've been using it for probably the last 5 years. And so much so that my Nick collection, they're up to number 9 now. I had number 6, I think, when I first went into it. So, yeah.
Can it replace Photoshop and Lightroom?
DxO do have a DxO RAW processor, so it's a bit like a camera raw processing. So yeah, you can run it through. So Simon, who's the person from DxO that reached out for me, he said, look, try them all out. And I said, well, I've been trying a lot of them out anyway over the last few years. He said, try out the DxO RAW processor and see what you think. It's good. It would take me, I'd have to commit myself and say, right, for the next month, I'm just going to use that only and really get used to it. I haven't really given it a good chance. And I actually said it to him. I said, I've tried it a couple of times and it's sort of, I just like where I'm at. And he goes, just give it a go and see what you think. And it's fine. It does a good job. It's quite powerful in relation to what it can pull out of files and what it can do. So there's a whole gamut of suites in there that you can try out for editing and stuff. But I really like them, and I'm not a huge person to promote stuff that I don't use and like. But these guys, especially as well, when I've been printing, there's a thing in the color effects which is called Pro Contrast, which just really pops images off. It does a lot to images, just adds like a fine layer of contrast that you can adjust. But it really helps prints jump off the paper for me. So I've been a big fan of it for a couple of years, or 3 or 4 years now.
Nice. All right. Well, that's all linked below. Jump on. Have a crack at it. Why wouldn't you? Some shout outs. Cam, you want to shout out to the people who came to your masterclass?
Yes. 3 lovely ladies who, like I said, after the first day, the next morning, they were all a bit unsure as to what they'd done and signed up for, and weren't confident about what they were going to get and what happened. And they all walked away with some incredible prints and did a very good job. But shout out to Deb. This is, I think, Deb's 3rd or 4th masterclass she's done with me. We finally got out to the southwest for Deb because a couple of times we've had weather stop us getting out there. So she was wrapped. She got a great shot of the waterfall and the light rays that were coming off that Lake Pedder. Jackie, who listens to the show, again, she came along, had a great time. She got some great shots, waterfall, and she got a lovely shot of these sun rays coming through these mountain ranges with like a big 600 mil. She had the Tamron 200 to 600, I think it was. She got some really great shots through there. And then Sarah, who came along, again, she had a great time. She got some great shots. She got that one that we showed, the rock in the foreground with the lovely light in the background. And she also got a river one, I think it was, a fern one, I think it was from memory, which looked amazing. But thank you to those 3 ladies that came along. They were all locals as well, which made it real easy. We didn't have to worry about picking people up from hotels and all that kind of jazz. We all just met at my house and away we went. So shout out to them.
Cool. Shout outs from me, Caitlin, Olivia, John, and Brooke, who all came to my entry-level workshop on Wednesday night last week. That was awesome. Really enjoyed your enthusiasm. All of you were great. I love it when I've got when I run workshops and people are just full of enthusiasm for the craft. It makes my job a lot easier. So yeah, thanks for that. Now, if you guys want to come along to a workshop that I run or a workshop that Cam runs, you can find our websites linked in the description below. Jump on there. There's links to all the different workshops that we run. There's also links there to Ocean Grove Camera and Photo, which is the business that I run, where we can help you with printing. We can help you with gear. We can talk photography till the cows come home if you want to. But both of Cam's business and my business are linked below. And of course, the joint thing that we do that you're watching now, the Down South Photo Show, is dsps.com.au. Head there and you can see lots of cool stuff on the website, not least of which are all the workshops that we offer, including our full suite of workshops for 2027. So jump on and check all that out as you go through. Cam, what do you got coming up, my friend?
One little thing, just a quick point on the workshops as well. And this is not a plug of any sort for mine, yours, or dsps.com.au website workshops. But I am noticing a trend in the last 6 months that people are booking a long way in advance. So if you're thinking of doing a workshop next year, don't sit back. A lot of our workshops, most people's workshops only require a small deposit and then the rest paid later. But I'm starting to fill up for easily 2027 into 2028 for workshops I'm doing. So, and I'm a bit gobsmacked by that. People are really getting organized 2 or 3 years in advance. So if you're looking to do a workshop or it's something on your bucket list that you want to do, check them out. Even if you most of the deposits, or all the deposits I do, apart from my international trips, are refundable or movable. So yeah, don't sit back and think, oh, I'll give that a book 3 months before it happens, because it'll be gone. So, and I'm sure that goes with your Brendan and our Down South Photo Show ones as well. What I've got going on, well, tomorrow, depending on what Mother Nature does, I'm going to probably start heading out and trying to get some photos. Thursday, definitely be out around Tasmania trying to get some photos, which I'll try and show on the next episode. And then, yeah, I'm coming up to the Big Island to go catch up with you and go take some awesome folks down the Great Ocean Road.
Sounds awesome. Excellent. I'm doing the same, except without the snow stuff that you're doing. I'm going to be nose to the grindstone over the next few days at Camera and Photo, getting everything up to date, and then, yeah, heading down the Great Ocean Road. That's going to be awesome. Might get myself along to the MCG on Friday night. We shall see. Hopefully I can get along. That'll be good fun. This is not a footy show. Shout out to Ryan Fox in the Open, by the way. That was awesome.
Speaking of footy, congratulations to Ken Hintley, who's the new Tassie Devil coach. Great choice. I'm happy. Everyone down there's a buzz here now. Like, it's gone from there was a bit of a combination of noise between footy didn't want the footy team in stadium, did want the footy team in stadium. That's now like that. Now we've got a coach down here. It's a game changer. He has, I showed you, like you said the other day, his interview, he is Mr. Tasmania, and good on him. He obviously he's signed up for it and he's getting paid to say a lot of that stuff. But I gather that he's actually genuinely excited about being involved. So look out. I can't wait. Like I said, hopefully we can get there round 1, and hopefully if it's Melbourne, imagine that, Melbourne Demons versus the Devils.
It should be the oldest football club versus the youngest. I think that's got a nice ring to it. Doesn't matter who they play, it's going to sell out. So they might as well just do something like that and make it the oldest versus the youngest. And just imagine when you get Nick Dacos, that's going to be amazing. Anyway, that's enough. It's not a footy show. This has been episode 194 of the Down South Photo Show. We will see you sometime in the near future for episode 195, getting close to the big 200. Meantime, Cam, we'll see you next week, and say goodbye, Cameron.
Goodbye, Cameron.
See you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.